I'm Kat, and I have a million ideas. Good evening, everyone. This is your girl, One Cat One. Thank you for coming back to see me. Boy, I have a million ideas, and I'm going to share one of the things that I'm going to do today. I'm going to be working with resin. So I'm going to do some resin coasters, some resin keychains, and some resin bookmarks. And I also have this other resin piece that I'm going to be working with as well. So the supplies that we're going to need is, of course, your resin. So I am using Amazing Clear Cast Epoxy. I really like this resin. I've tried many of them, but this is my go-to for right now. So you have a part A and a part B, and you're gonna mix the two, and that's how we're gonna get our, I guess, our solution of sort. You're gonna need some popsicle sticks. I use the jumbo popsicle sticks, and I use the smaller popsicle sticks when I'm using color or glitter or anything like that. Also, I have, this is a skewer that I use when I'm placing different pieces in so that I can move them around and place them where I want them. You're gonna need your measuring cup. If you do, depending on how much resin you need, you may need multiple resin cups. You're gonna need some alcohol, isopropyl. I'm tired. 91% is what this is, because like your regular 60%, it doesn't really pop the bubbles. This is what I see a lot of people using. I put mine in a little spray bottle. It makes it easier to spray to pop the bubbles. I'm going to be using clear resin, so I don't need no paint or no other color mixture. But while I was out today, and I said I wasn't going to spend any money, but I came across these sequences that I picked up for 49 cents a piece. I definitely could not leave that there. I always check the clearance aisle just to see. I like to do different things for my resin pieces. I don't like to do the same thing twice. Also, I have some bookmarks that I'm going to be working with, and I found these little pieces that I thought was really cute, and I'm doing a specialty bookmark for someone who really like this feather, so I am going to add this in the bookmark as well. You're also gonna need a mask, because epoxy do give off a smell. Some people don't like it. It don't really bother me, but when I think of it, I do wear a mask. And also you're gonna need some gloves. I usually only use one glove, but I do see people using two. I ordered these off of Amazon. These are nitrile exam gloves, powder free. I don't know if it makes a difference if it's powdered or not. These were on sale. I got 100 of them for like $6. So these come in handy. And then I use baby wipes. It's easier for me to wipe my resin jars down with the baby wipes, just to get all the spillage off of it, and also wipe off my sticks or anything like that, or my hands if my free hand get epoxy on it. So these are the supplies. And also what I have close by, I also have newspaper, because when I do my pour, I pour my coaster or whatever mold that I'm using and put it on paper, so that it doesn't, really damage my table. I'm able to move it around. And then you're just gonna need some type of box that you're gonna cover your pieces with over top. And what that does, it just helps eliminate any dust or dirt or anything that could be flying around, because you should use a fan to kind of circulate the air if you're not working outside, which they do suggest you work in an area where circulation, so that means to open your windows or something like that. I use a fan, and because the house is big, the smell kind of flows throughout everywhere. So those are the things that you're going to need, and of course your molds. I'm going to go ahead and prepare which molds I'm going to start first. So I'll see you in a bit.
K1, come on, come on.
right, so now I'm gonna start mixing. For these resin coasters, when I measured them about how much epoxy it would take to fill these, it came to be about 3 ounces that I would use per mold. And it all depends on what you're putting in. Of course, if you're putting any objects in it, it'll take up space. You may use a little bit less than you normally would if you add paint or just anything with any type of weight. So this here, I'm mixing part A. So I'm doing 4 coasters. So 4 times 3 is 12 ounces. So I'm gonna need 12 ounces. So this particular cup here is only 8 ounces. And you wanna make sure you have it on a flat level surface when you're doing it, because you don't want your measurements to be off. If your measurements are off, it will definitely mess up or not dry or harden properly. During this part, I should have on my glove, and I don't. And you pour it slow because you don't want to get many air bubbles in there. And I usually have good lighting so that I can see to make sure that I get an adequate pour. And then when I set my epoxy down, I have paper. I usually have paper or newspaper handy because, like I said, it drips, and once it hardens, it's very hard to get off. My table here has all kind of bubbles. Now what I usually do before I start mixing my spray bottle, they say this works for me. You have to find what works for you, but I coat the bottom of whatever my mold is, because what the alcohol does, it pops the bubbles. It brings the bubbles to the top and it pops it. So I always do a pre-spray first before I even pour anything in there. And then what it does, of course, alcohol, it evaporates and dries, but I always give it a good spray. And then I set my timer for 5 minutes, because that's what I usually do when I mix my epoxy. And then you just want to mix it, and you want to make sure you mix it very well. You guys can't see this, but when you mix the two mixtures together and you stir it, you'll see a swirl, because you're mixing 2 different agents together. One is kind of real clear, and then one looks like it's kind of blue. And then you want to make sure you get the sides, because you want to make sure you get a thorough mix. And what happens as you're mixing, if you mix too fast, you'll create air bubbles inside. I've heard people say, well, you let your resin sit for 5 minutes and the air bubbles will rise to the top and they'll pop. I'm kind of an impatient person, so I think that's where I got the idea of spraying the alcohol down. But it's really important that when you, especially when you're doing clear, because you don't want bubbles in your resin or any of your molds as it casts, because when it gets hard, you can see the bubbles and you may not like that. But for me, I haven't had any problems as of yet. I usually use color or glitter or something. So you mix, and you, like I said, you constantly do the size. Today what I'm gonna do is I saw these flowers, beautiful colored flowers, and I asked the person, oh, can I get some of those petals? I've been seeing people put petals and different things in their molds, so I thought the flowers were so pretty that I wanted to try and do it myself and see what it looks like. So these are the petals that I have, and a couple of the, I call them spriglets. Not quite sure what they are, but it's a little, I don't know if you would call that a flower, baby hair. I don't know what you would call that, but these here that I'm just gonna break off and put in the resin, stem included. I think I'm gonna use some of the stem. I don't see my scissors. I have to get my scissors. But you stir, and as you stir the resin, it'll get clearer and clearer, and you'll be able to see through it. So I'm very excited, because I've been wanting to do some with flowers. But since these are so many colors, I think it should be very pretty. It will be very pretty. So you just stir. Make sure you get your size. Let me tell you something about this here. For me, my hands get tired. Just swirl it in a circle. Let me check my time. I got my baby wipes here because of course I don't want to get this on my phone. It's cracked up enough, 10:56. I don't forgot what time it was when I started. So let me check to see if I see the swirls. I don't know if I said it was 10:50 or 10:53. That's terrible. So it's been about 5 minutes. I think it's been about 5 minutes. So now, it makes it a little bit easier. I think what I'm going to do is pour some in this little cup so that I can pour a thin layer in there and then place my rose petals in there. I want to make sure it's mixed up because one time it wasn't mixed up, or maybe I used the same agents and it won't get hard. It won't get hard at all. So that's what I think I'm going to do. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some in this cup to make it a little bit easier to get a pour. Like I said, this is 8 ounces. I am going to have to make another 4 ounces to complete and top it off. So I'm pour some in here. It don't really matter. But I just want to pour a little. I want to get my resin up. And then pour it in here. And again, it's very important to have a even flat surface because as you pour, you want to be able to get it even. And I really don't have no method that I do because what it does is I usually pour it. I can't say I don't have a method, then can I? I pour at the top and it'll go down. And you'll see it. And it'll level itself as well as it fills up. Because what you want to make sure is you get full coverage. If you leave any holes or anything like that, I constantly check my pieces anyway, just to ensure. You have about a work time of, it says, this one here says about 30 to 45 minutes before it start getting hard and kind of casting and getting hard, and then you don't want to move it at all. So I see these here. I guess now at this point I could just pour because what I'm noticing is it's not dripping down. And I need it to drip down because I want to place the roses in there. And I want to make sure it's covered because I don't want none of the roses to kind of come through and be exposed. And then it doesn't, you'll feel the rose on the other side. So that is doing it. So now what I'm going to do I'm going to get some of the rose petals and I'm just going to stick them in there. I wonder if I should have maybe broke them up. So I'm going to use my little poker stick, my skewer. And what I want to do is I want to set it in there. Oh yeah, maybe I should have. Oh. Because you want it to stick. So that's what I think. So I might do need another glove. I'll have to kind of rip it open because you want it to kind of flatten. You want it to flatten. And it's kind of holding its shape. So, because you want to submerge it. We're going to see. I've never done this. I'm creating bubbles as I do this. I see this now. Oh yeah. I'm gonna try to work on this a little bit. And let's see. I'm trying to flatten it out. Not making, I don't want it to curl up. That's what I don't. And that's what it's trying to. It's trying to curl. I think I'm going to flip this. I'm going to tear them. That's what I think is gonna. I'm trying to place them. I want them to have the same colors because I do sell them as a set. So I want them to look like they belong together. I think that's it. That's all I'm put in here. I think that's it. My eyes was bigger than what I thought that I was gonna need. I feel like it just needs a little bit more. What I'm gonna do now is, because I know I created some air bubbles in there, I usually give it a quick spray. Just if there are any air bubbles before I put the other resin on top. I spray it. Maybe I should have focused on the hair. I'm going to push out the air bubbles. I see some of the flowers are trying to create like an air bubble. If it's an air bubble and there's air getting in there, it could make bubbles, and you can see, yep, you saw that? Oh, you didn't see it. As I'm pushing out the air in the flowers, big air bubbles are popping up. So let me see. Oh, yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the rest of this resin on top real quick and try to give it some weight to push down the flowers. Because what I'm going to need it to do is make sure it stays down. You don't want it to rise to the top. If it rises to the top, then that could be, it can protrude out, and you don't want it to protrude upwards. So it needs to be covered. This side is going pretty good. So what I'm doing right now is I'm concentrating on the flower itself to give it some weight to push it down. You hear that whining noise? That's my dog Lucius outside. He wanted to go outside. Now he wants to come back in. But he's gonna have to wait. So right now, concentrating. So I see that one that doesn't want to go down. So I'm gonna press it down to let the air bubbles escape. See that? The air bubble popped out. It was trapped in there. I'm just gonna, oh, look at that. Air bubble trapped in there. I don't want them trapped in there. Don't look all that pretty, looking at it this way. I hope it be a lot prettier when I flip it. I'll tell you that. I think because they're just big next time. if there is a next time, because I don't usually like to do the same. I'm gonna flip that. I don't usually like to do the same type of resin or whatever I'm doing twice. I never can really duplicate it anyway, but I like to try something different. So usually when I make them, once they sell, it'll be a very long time before I duplicate that again. So that's the fun thing about creations. You get to make it how you want to, and you don't have to make the same thing. So that way people have one of a kind. And that's what I like about doing resin pieces, especially these when it comes to the coasters. I don't make the same one. It seems like I should put something else in here. In my mind, maybe I'll just put some of these on. I don't know why. My daughter always said, "Oh, you're extra." I am. Enough is never enough for me. Enough. This one is like, hello, we done enough. This one here is gonna drive me crazy.
Hi, have a TV show idea, but don't know how to get started? Reach out to me at glstvnetwork.com @gmail.com. Again, that's glstvnetwork.com @gmail.com, and we'll help you find your voice.
Then I can pour the next resin on top. See that? He wants to give me problems. Okay, so now I concentrate on the stuff I just added in there, making sure, try to get them to weigh themselves down. It's kind of sticking up. Let's see. That sticks up a little bit. I might, if I can cut that out. Made it much easier looking because I'm struggling. And this mold is not a really, really deep mold. It can make a difference too when you're doing different things you're putting in molds. Keep in mind how deep your mold is. That makes a big difference. And I'm trying not to fill it all the way up. What happens is it will rise to the top, so you want to give yourself enough room to be able to push it back down and then be able to pour again on top, because you want to make sure it submerges itself, because if it's too full, you can't pour nothing else on top to make it float to the bottom. Like I said, these take 12 ounces, so I might seem to be, some of them are okay as long as they don't float. And one thing you have to do, you do need to use all your resin. I messed up a resin cup, so I'm gonna pour this extra resin in here because I need a base. I got some resin that did not cure properly, so now I can't clean the cup out. And the only way I'm gonna be able to get that extra resin out is I need to put other resin in there to harden it so I can just pull it out, because once it's dry, it is a easy pull. This may seem like a waste, but these cups can be reusable, and they are like $4. What I'm going to do is, because as you see my my paper is all jacked up, I'm going to dump this paper, trash it, and put a fresh one on here, because once that stuff get hard, it is paper. I got some marks on here that is from the resin, and it'll come off, and it's gonna take some elbow grease, and I don't feel like it right now. And I have it. So now I'm gonna go ahead and mix. Before I mix, I'm gonna mix another 4 ounces. Another 4 ounces to top this off. So I'm gonna just make sure before I top it off, everybody's laying down like I need them to be. I know you're like, why did you just put that in there? We concentrate on putting them down. I couldn't help myself. You just have to keep pushing it down. I wonder if I should have laid the flowers down first and then poured the resin on top. I've done that before, and what happened is it made like some of the resin didn't get to the bottom of the mold, and it left like it was like open spaces, so you could feel like whatever I put in there, the resin did not cover it, so you can kind of feel the lumps and the bumps. I could feel it. You couldn't really tell, but by now I'll be done. I don't know. This better come out amazing. No, I ain't doing this no more. What I think I'm going to do, what I've done before is I've let this sit, because you can like, sometimes I do different colors, so I'll let it sit for like an hour, and then I'll come back and pour over. And what that does, it'll harden the resin, so it'll kind of make whatever piece in there stay stiff. So now all you got to do is concentrate on the very top edges that may be at the top, but everything else is kind of frozen in place, and you're able to repair whatever came up, or you can let it dry. You can let it get hard, and if you want to, you can cut out like the extra overage with scissors and then re-pour, which means you'll have to wait another 24, 48 hours before you can demold. But sometimes it's worth doing that versus having the whole ruined project. You just got to give it another 2 days, but that's just how it goes. So I'll be back in a minute, and let me see what I come up with. So I'm pouring. What I did this time is I placed the pieces in there and hoping that the resin get up underneath and doesn't create the holes, because these have holes in them and they may float to the top. So we're gonna see what happens. I'm not filling it all the way up because I'm just waiting to see if any of them are gonna float to the top, and if so, I'll have a little room to push it down. It must be kind of getting under, because I see some bubbles rising to the top, and usually when bubbles rises, that means air is escaping, and the only really place it can escape is from the bottom of the pieces that I'm putting in there. So yeah, which is a good thing to see bubbles in this case around. Let's see how that one is lifting around the pieces, because that means resin is getting underneath. So I'm glad to see that. And these are the sequins that I got from Hobby Lobby for 49 cents. So I'm hoping this works. And I noticed something, that these sequins, they must have some type of I mean, we see their color, but it must be some type of ink, dyeable ink, because when I moved it, I seen the ink actually coming off on my molds. But this resin should capture it and shouldn't be no problem. Oh good. I needed 4 ounces. Okay, I might be okay. I needed 4 ounces to finish off my what's the name. And it looks like I only made 7 more ounces. Usually these keychain molds, they only take about a little less than an ounce per to make it. So I actually got some extra molds down here because somehow I do my measurements and I wound up still with a lot left. I might should have made the whole 8 ounces now that I'm looking at this. I won't put nothing in that one because I need to make sure that I have enough. So what I'm going to do now before I pour on top is I'm going to do a quick spray. And if you see, here's a bubble here, and watch what happens. Well, didn't even get a good spray in. But it'll start popping the bubbles, and you'll see them popping. And I'll just spray until I'm satisfied that they're popped. I know people say, oh, you don't need a lot. Might not need a lot, but I usually spray till they, for some reason, get up under the light and watch it do its thing, and you'll see the actual alcohol kind of drying up with the light on top of it. You'll see it kind of breaking the shell, and if it don't, that one bubble there, sometimes you just stick something in it. Oh, that is absolutely a bubble. Okay, there it goes. Sometimes it takes a little while before them to pop. Like it's some in there, I'll just spray again. And most of the times they just pop. Oh, there's a lot of air trapped under there. It might be okay. As you see here, like I was showing you, like the ink, you can see it kind of coming off of the, whatever that is, the sequences. You can see it kind of running. That's just going to add to its flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the pour. And then I usually check it. Once I cover it, I'll come back and I'll check it. And I'll make sure there's no bubbles in there. And if there's bubbles in there, I'll give it another little spray. For the morning time, it'd be what it's gonna be. I'll just keep the light on it so that I can really see the bubbles and what I need to do. I think maybe what that is in there might be alcohol. That's the first time I've seen that, or that's the ink from the sequence that is pouring off. I've never seen that before. So we're gonna see. And I'll move it around. Yeah, I think that might just be the ink. Because on this one here, kind of see something. I don't know what I'm looking at. And it usually will self-level itself. That's the word I'm looking for. Self-level. Itself where it needs to be. What? Don't want to waste none. I said I needed how much? 4 ounces? I might just be a little under. Everybody look like they got enough. I don't know if you can see that. It looks like I might be okay. We're gonna see if I am or not. I'm gonna double this cup up. It gets hot and it'll still start. I almost feel like it's burning the cup. Cause that's what it's supposed to do, supposed to get hot. That's the one that's gonna give me the problem, I see. You acting all crazy. Yeah, I think I might be alright. I think I have enough, guys. Concentrate on this little edge here. Weight it down. You want to get all your resin. That's money. Especially if you have some goof ups and you mess up some. You can't afford to mess up too much. See a fly in here. Get out of here, fly. Don't get trapped in none of my stuff. Better get your behind out of here. I'm just looking over here and see an air bubble. One I couldn't do. I would have had that full 8 ounces. So now I get over top of it and take a look. I can see some that are kind of to the top. And I got a little bit left to kind of see what I need to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop some of these bubbles. Because I can pop some of the bubbles. See, on this one you can see where the alcohol kind of drying up. And when it does that, it pops a bubble. As it dries, you'll see it. It's drying. That's fascinating to me. I'll probably be intoxicated with their isoprene alcohol. I think that's what it's called. Alright, so it looks like I'm going to have an extra one left. This was an extra anyway. So now, let's concentrate on what areas we need some. Looks like we got some floaties. Okay, you're full. I can see. I just kind of hit all I can get. I usually don't scrape it like this, but it seems like these flowers are sucking up which is a good thing, the epoxy. And I don't scrape it because in order to clean out these cups, a little epoxy is good to dry off in there because it makes it easier to come out. And if it don't come out, I spray my cup with the 91% alcohol. And then I use a brown paper towel and I get the bottom of the cup nice and saturated. And then I just rub around and keep spraying until it comes up. It looks like some of this nice fries, and what I'll do is I'll probably leave them or try to sand them down a bit with a Dremel type. And let that be that. Oh yeah, it did rise. And these are very, very shallow, so it's not that it wouldn't take much to rise because they're so shallow. But I think we'll be alright. Oh, you can see the ink coming out of this. Yeah, there's some type of ink in here. I hope this don't stain my molds. Well, if it stains it after a couple of times with epoxy, I'm sure it'll just pull it out. I love these molds. They're pretty cool. I don't want no bubbles because this is clear. So I give it one good spray. And then in the midst of this, what I do right after, I clean up my mess and then I cover it with a box. I let it sit for about 30 minutes. Come just do a check just to make sure any pieces that I put in there, I have a little bit of time to play with because it starts firming up. And then I just kind of press it down gently because at this point, you don't want to create any more bubbles because there's no way for you to get inside. You only really can, only the top layer. But usually that's it. So tomorrow I'll see. I don't demold unless it's kind of, usually with this amazing resin, it be rock hard in the morning, 9 hours, it'd be rock hard. Sometimes if I use color, it'll be a little bit soft. So I'll leave it in for the whole day and then demold it, let it dry for another 12-24 hours before I bag them and put them out to sell just to make sure they hold up. Until the next time, guys, I will show you when I demold and show you what I'm working on next. Alright, this is your girl, One Cat One. I'm out, baby. Alright, guys, so as you see, I got my 3D printer running while I was filming my episode with the resin. So I'm actually getting 2 projects done at the same time. Right now, I'm creating a bank. And I'm going to add some additions to it. But yay, remember the last time I think I told you my 3D printer was down. But as you see, she's working. And wait till she's done. I'll show you what I'm making or what I'm going to do with it later. Good night, guys.